Much for joining me. We're going to hang out. We're going to talk some Twins. We're going to be sad together. The season's over. And if there's any indication by the pre-show chat, we got a bunch of whiny babies up in here. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sad. I'm bummed out. But I'm not gonna overreact to anything tonight. We're gonna bring it in though. We're gonna bring. I apologize for the sassy opening because this is where we're gonna hug it out. We're gonna hug it out. We're all sad our favorite team lost. That's what it all comes down to. Maybe some things will get said in the heat of the moment out here right now. We won't judge. We won't judge. I won't judge you if you don't judge me. How about that? How about that? Again, our favorite team lost. A pretty frustrating game to watch. And they're done. It's over. So I don't expect anybody to be feeling good right now. I don't expect anybody to be having any kind of a celebration or, it's really hard to look at silver linings right now. You know, but I think it's nice to come together, spend some time. I'll just play my whole hand for you here. I don't have any fancy little baseball savant graphics to show or anything tonight. This is all about just, having a beer, being sad about our baseball team being eliminated. It was a fun ride. Certainly enjoyed this season. That's certainly not going to go away from tonight. But it's the wound is still very fresh. The wound is still very fresh. A lot of positives, out of this series, this game. Of course, a lot of things that the Twins didn't do well, a lot of things that are problems with this club. But I think, it's pretty easy to overreact to, individual plate appearances right now, individual performances right now, whatever it may be. I will say this, I think if you followed along, yeah, I mean, let's actually start there. Chase, I think that's what it really comes down to. This is a team, and I know it was mostly Pablo, but this team beat Kevin Gausman, man. This team beat Kevin Gausman. And obviously, Jim, come on, man. No, don't. Don't. But yeah, this team beat Kevin Gausman. I realized they only scored a couple runs. They were Royce Lewis, Royce Lewis homers that were kind of the fuel of that game. But you just had to feel like there was a better shot against Christian Javier and Jose Urquidy, which I tried to kind of relay that these guys have had better seasons. These guys have been good pitchers at certain points of their careers. These guys have been pretty good postseason performers, Javier in particular. But you got to feel good. You got to feel good facing those guys. They were bad this year. Urquidy especially was bad this year, man. And the Twins could not take advantage. I think their game plan coming in today was to try to be aggressive and get to him before it got to the bullpen. And I think that was a good game plan. But I think Urquidy and Maldonado figured out what was going on pretty quick and realized that the Twins were expanding the zone and really took advantage of that. And Urquidy, for all his faults, he's got a great changeup. He does. He really has a great changeup. But again, this guy was not successful this year. So that was, that is the stinger for me. There's no shame in losing to the Astros. I'll say that much. There's no shame in losing to the Astros. This team last season, I realize this is a little bit of a different look. I think that was one of the best teams I've seen in my lifetime last season. And there's a lot of the same guys back from that. A lot of these guys have been winning over and over and over again. So there's really no shame in losing to the Astros. Even some of their guys, why did they only win 90 games then? Altuve missed some time. Jordan missed some time. Abreu wasn't himself almost the entire season. Their rotation was a mess, especially before they acquired Verlander. So there are some reasons you can find that they didn't have a good regular season. And I think they are a more dangerous postseason team than that. But, it's not like they were the bullpen is also nasty. But the Twins hung with them. The Twins hung with them for the most part. In this game tonight, the Twins hung with them. It was a 1-run game at the end of the day. And yeah, it just felt like these last. And I'm going to say the same thing I saw. I think I've seen people in the chat say, people who said on Twitter as well, like, yeah, this did feel a little bit like some of those games from like mid to late May. When I made that video that called them out as being unwatchable for a while there, where it just seemed like whatever scouting report the Twins were getting was like, did they get this right scouting report for the right pitcher? It just seemed like they were so unprepared for what was coming out, which is just strange because Javier and Urquidy are such known quantities. And then especially after like they hung tough against Verlander. I realized Verlander pitched 6 shutout innings, so it's not like the Twins got anything on him. But I felt like they strung together a pretty good at bats against them. They had a pretty good game plan, and then they got to Fromber, obviously. So it's just surprising how hapless they looked against Javier and Urquidy in particular. There are definitely a lot of bad calls. A lot of bad calls. I think there's probably some, bad calls that went the Twins' way too, but it once again, it felt like a lot of the bad calls came in really unfortunate situations for the Twins. You get a bad call early in a count, you can kind of brush that off and say, hey, this is the reality of the situation. We've got human umpires. They're going to miss calls, but bad third strike calls is real tough pill to swallow, especially when it's a third out. Very difficult. Yeah, the Kepler inside strike call, that was horrible. And took away that at bat with a base being stolen. This whole series doesn't change with an automated strike zone with robo umpires or whatever. I still think maybe we get to a game 5 instead. Maybe. I think even that's kind of a tough argument, but it certainly was frustrating. It was frustrating to watch. Even if it didn't impact the results of games, it was very frustrating to watch. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that there's changes coming on that side. The pitch clock came in faster and was more aggressive than I would have ever imagined. So I'm hopeful that we're going to get the challenge system next year, not fully automated balls and strikes. And I think that's fine because then that gives you an opportunity to challenge that call. If it's a big situation and it's fairly obvious the call's wrong, you get that opportunity to challenge it. It's a good system too, and it's fun actually. That's kind of the shocking thing to me is like, I'm usually like, hey, if we have a system in place, where we can get all this stuff right, just do the automated thing. But actually, the challenge system is pretty fun. You've seen it in the minor leagues, and it's fast. And it's not like the replay system where, like, oh, you look into the dugout, and then you look to the manager, and then the manager's like, no, the batter, the hitter, or the catcher have to ask for a challenge, like, immediately. There's a very small window in which they'll let you challenge. So I'm hopeful that that's going to be in Major League Baseball next year. I don't see what the argument against it is. I can see probably the umpires union is going to have a hard time with trying to do a fully automated strike zone. And, they have their contracts and they have their, unions and all that stuff. And I can see that maybe kind of muddying, trying to advance that forward. I'm not going to say that they're going to like the automated or the challenge system, but I think they're going to push for that, and we'll see here. Thanks for all the kind words in here. We're obviously having a bit of a cry fest all together. I'm not going to act like I'm going to keep it together either. I know I came in hot trying to tell people to calm down, but our favorite team just lost, and they're done on the season. So, anything that goes down in here, we'll have a pact that we'll all understand. So it's tough. And that's the sting. That's the sting when you get this far is that it hurts worse. If you're a team that just didn't make the playoffs, you knew, sometimes days, weeks, sometimes months in advance what was coming when the end of the day was. You knew the last day of your regular season, that was it. And when you don't know in this situation, obviously we want this, but this is how we want it to be. in the postseason, but it comes at you fast. It comes at you fast, man. Um, yeah, and a lot of excitement. A lot of excitement. I don't want to get into uh, don't let me steer the chat away from it. But I'm personally not going to talk quite a bit about off-season stuff because I have months to do that. This channel doesn't completely shut down over the off season, so we're gonna talk about that plenty. And it'll be very interesting to see what the Twins do. So I don't want to kind of dismiss that as a talking point or anything. But as far as what's coming out of me in this stream, I'm kind of trying to hold on to this moment for a little bit and think about this some more. And Justin, the Astros look so much better. They did, and I think what's nice, and this kind of goes into that conversation with the umpiring. I think there's not really any kind of an angle that I can feel like, oh, the Twins would have won if, or if we only played a 7-game series. It really did. At the end of the day, the Astros just look better. But you know what? Another funny thing about kind of what conversations that have been having, they were actually piss poor with runners in scoring position too. We talked about that last night. So it's like, honestly, if you want to try to take, I know a lot of people are going to try to take a lot of lessons out of these series, which it's at the end of the day, it's only 6 baseball games that they played over these postseason series. But man, if you want to take a lesson out of these, it's hit home runs. Hit home runs. Don't give up home runs. And again, it's kind of silly to try to take a lesson out of 6 postseason games, but if you want me to pin down what I think was the story of these games, a lot of people are trying to say, oh, the Twins couldn't hit with scoring position. It's like, yeah, but what did the Astros hit? 10 home runs in this 4-game series? I think that was the number. And they didn't hit with runners in scoring position. They just hit it over the fence. So, yeah. Well, put the ball in play and see what happens. I mean, yeah, well, my problem was with the chases. That's what my problem is. If you want to swing hard at pitches in the zone, I'm all about that. Once you're starting to expand and get overly aggressive, you're playing into the pitcher's game plan. You're really giving yourself up. You're not having good at bats at that point. But look at the first inning. Edouard Julien gets a double. What happens? Put it in play. Hit a double. Great. Put it in play. Line drive right at the shortstop. Double play. Like there's just the pitching is so good. I think the defense is also, in terms of ground that they can cover, I think these guys are bigger, stronger, faster than they've ever been. And it's not as if the field's gotten any bigger. I realize the distance between the bases got a little shorter this year. But it's really hard. It's really, even AJ brought it up, that it's really hard to string together like 3 hits in the postseason. All these teams can pitch. These managers manage more aggressively. It's tough. Yeah, and strikeouts suck. The Twins struck out too much in the series. The Twins struck out too much this year. But to me, that was more of an undisciplined hitting thing than a just simply strikeouts thing. They chased too much. You can strike out a lot without chasing. Usually they do go hand in hand, but that was what was frustrating to me, was they chased so much these last 2 games in particular. Absolutely horrible. Absolutely horrible with the chases. Yeah, Royce was really expanding, especially yesterday. He had some better at-bats today. It was fun to see Buxton, though, Greg. That was so much fun to see him get out there. Yeah, I'm super happy he got to be a part of the team there. It was a fun moment. It was a very fun moment for Buxton to get out there in front of the home crowd. Should say again, we led this off with last night. I should have led it off with it tonight. You guys distracted me. From my main point. Twins fans, wow. Love everybody in that stadium. If you were at that game tonight, man, I love you. You guys crushed it again. I'm so happy I was able to be a part of the 2 wildcard games at Target Field, and these 2 games were amazing. Honestly, I think these 2 crowds were better. It's so much harder to stay up when the team's down all game, and Target Field crushed it again. Twins fans established a new identity this postseason. I think absolutely. I think a lot of the, and this came from Dan Hayes from The Athletic primarily, I think, but there was a lot of support for it. A lot of the opinions on how Twins fans acted in the postseason and how they were kind of quiet and a little reserved were fairly valid coming into this postseason. And I think ain't nobody going to be saying anything like that for a while now, because it was lit in that stadium, despite the Twins being down pretty much the whole time these last two games. So I'm super proud of the way that Twins fans showed out and just went berserk. Absolutely. In these 4 home games this postseason. Um, you know, love it. Super, super proud to be a Twins fan after seeing that. Yeah, and again, established a new identity. You know, I do think, there was some valid criticism that we were a more reserved postseason crowd, that, if we gave up a lead early, you could kind of take away home field advantage. That's gone. That ain't a thing anymore. And I'm loving it. I'm so happy about that. So happy about that. My opinion on the rebrand is the longer they keep it, the better it is. If they keep doing this thing where they kind of mix things up every 6 or 7 years, you're not developing any kind of history there or anything. So they got to keep this new look, these new logos. I think generally everything is cleaner, though. I think it is a cleaner look for all the Twins logos and stuff. Yeah, we got stuck with a lot of afternoon games, but that wasn't a huge factor in the series, but it certainly made things difficult, on a lot of people for watching or attending the games for sure. Some talk about the rookies. A lot of these guys, it's huge. It is huge just to get these guys. And again, it's only been 6 games, but I think it's really massive to get these guys who are going to be around for a long time some playoff exposure. Now they know what it's like. They had a lot of good veterans in the clubhouse who've been through it, been played in tons of games like these that could kind of tell them, this is how it's going to be. Now they know. There's a big difference there. There's a very big difference between someone telling you about something and you experiencing it. And now all these guys have that experience. Tremendous. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about the offense and the lineup, and I think that is the most frustrating point. Once again, I'm really annoyed at how little they did against Javier and Urquidy. The game plan seemed a bit off. They also did not counter adjust well. I don't want to sound like I'm dismissing frustrations, but again, I don't think I've painted. I think I painted this pretty clearly. I had a very healthy respect for the Astros, especially their lineup coming into the series. If you look at the Astros lineup on paper, you look at the Twins lineup on paper, there are so many more guys who are not just scary, like terrifying on the Astros lineup than there are the Twins lineup. The Twins have done a really nice job of having like a 1 through 9. Having, they have depth. The Twins have had depth. The Twins have done a great job of platooning and taking advantage of that depth. But you got Yordan. Kyle Tucker didn't even do that much in this series, and he's horrifying. Altuve is amazing. Bregman is better than his numbers this year. And Abreu, I mean, had a horrible year. Absolutely terrible. Jose Abreu. Don't want to dismiss that, but turn it on in September, and he's still that guy. He's still that guy who was amazing for the White Sox. So, the Twins, I think the lineup, if you're going to be objective about it, it looks a little bit more like a lot of complementary pieces than it does, superstar, carrying a lineup deep into a playoff run type guys. And, maybe with further experience, some of these younger guys are certainly going to establish themselves further. Royce Lewis, certainly showed out in this in this postseason. Always been a big believer in his power. But sometimes, things don't work out that way. Sometimes the league figures you out and it's tough. But I think, the Twins need to get better offensively. Thank you for the kind words, Marty. Pitching staff wise, I didn't really like Joe Ryan getting taken out. I didn't really like Joe Ryan getting taken out that early, but you can't. I think it's really hard. I wouldn't say you can't, but I would say it's really hard to take issue with how things went. I mean, uh, things went pretty well in this game pitching wise. It was the lineup that just didn't show up. You hold Houston to 3 runs, you got to feel pretty good about that. And it'll be interesting. The one thing I will say is it's interesting that they obviously put a lot of trust into the bullpen, and there were starters. Paddock this year coming off the injury, he wasn't really a starter, but he wasn't really just a reliever. So I don't know what you call him. They had him out there. They had Kenta out there. They had Varland out there. So the bullpen did look a lot different than it did in the regular season. But I do find it interesting that you had 2 starters in your 4-man rotation, Bailey Ober and Joe Ryan, that you couldn't really trust to go twice through a lineup. But at the same time, you didn't invest more in the bullpen. Now that at the deadline. Now that's partly me hanging on to an old narrative. That's partly me kind of hanging on to thinking they could have done more at the deadline, especially with the bullpen. Because if you look at it, it didn't really hurt them. Like, if we look at these games that they lost, it's not like you look back and be like, oh, yeah, if they would have had a better bullpen, they would have done better. No, I don't think so. You tell me if I'm wrong, but I do think the pitching staff, obviously Sonny Gray, and that's the thing too. Sonny Gray was going to start games anyway. So if you look at the Sonny Gray start and say, well, that's where the pitching let you down. Well, it's not like you were ever going to not start Sonny Gray. So, yeah, it was more the lineup, in my opinion, that let him down. And it was hard. It was even some of the guys that didn't chase. I mean, my man Willie, it was tough watching him against Hector Neris swing through some really good pitches in the middle of the zone. Jeffers swung through some good pitches in the middle of the zone that should have been crushed. It was mostly the chases that drove me nuts, but there was guys that got good pitches to hit and they didn't hit them. Yeah, right-handed hitting corner your outfielder would have helped. Yep, that's for sure. Yeah, the bottom half of the lineup, man, and those guys were the kind of guys that were sort of chipping in, those spots and coming in with big unexpected hits. And because I do think there a lot of times when you're facing a traditional starter and he's trying to get through a start in the regular season, he's going to kind of ease up a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit at the end of that lineup. And I think that was kind of part of what the Twins stung them. Willie Castro is arbitration eligible. So Willie Castro is not a free agent. He will be back, I'm sure, with the Twins. All right, what do we got here? So expect Willie to be back. Yeah. But again, I was bummed out he didn't do more. He had so many, especially big time late inning heroics this season. And just, so he was kind of the guy that, crossing my fingers, he would come up and do something good. Michael, I'm surprised Vasquez didn't play at all too. And I do think Jeffers, I mentioned this last night, I think Jeffers got a little bit tired. And I think there's a difference between splitting time and playing every day. When you're fresh like that, it's easier to be fully present in every game, because you're getting kind of a little bit of a break physically and mentally, especially as a catcher. I don't know what the best spots to have gotten Vasquez would have been in, like in terms of, if you're trying to game plan things out. I certainly understand why there was the motivation to keep Jeffers in. Again, I just talked about how the lineup isn't that scary when you look at a lot of these teams that are. I mean, you've got Texas, the Rangers. Look at the Rangers lineup. That's scary as hell. And I love these guys, and there's a lot of good hitters on this team, but they do feel a little bit more like complementary guys, and you need that beast in that middle of that lineup. And the Twins don't have that guy, that true, like a Jordan. Like a Jordan or like a Nelson Cruz back in 2019, just an absolute monster. I lost my train of thought there. We'll get back on it though. I'll probably hang out for a while. Why not? Why not? Yeah, Robert, that's kind of what I'm trying to hang on to. This Astros team, again, I think their true level is a lot higher than a 90-win team. They had to play a big part of this season without Altuve. They had to play a part of the season without Jordan. They didn't have Verlander in the first. Like they're a very different team right now. They're kind of all hitting. Again, Abreu was crap most of this year and got it together in September. They're hitting at the right moments. Obviously, though, this is a team that we aspire to be able to take down eventually. Um, you know, so that we've got to find a way to get up on that level. I don't think there's shame in losing to the Astros. That was a good team. It feels, again, I think that's the best way I can put it. There's no shame in losing to the Astros, but it's still the Twins got to find a way to bridge that gap. Absolutely. Yeah, we lost to a dynasty. Yeah, and that team, I mean, even beyond just like their talent level, like good God, the amount of postseason experience those guys have is remarkable. Absolutely remarkable. How many games, these guys have been through this so many times. It's insane. And that's big time valuable experience that the Twins gained this year. And I think that's part of what was so frustrating last year is you can say like, oh yeah, if the Twins would have won the AL Central in 2022, they wouldn't have done anything in the playoffs anyway. They just didn't have a roster built for that. Yeah, but you can always get those guys in there. It's always an opportunity to get some guys some experience, and even just getting Rocco some experience or getting Falvey a look at the team and the front office a look at the team. The Blue Jays absolutely have made decisions on their team building, and it hasn't worked out. They're in a playoff losing streak all of a sudden, but they really pivoted from one kind of a look to trying to emphasize defense a lot more. And it was in part because of that they were losing in the postseason. It is two different things to win in the regular season and to win in the postseason. So I think the Twins, I would expect that they've gained some valuable lessons out of this. And absolutely all the players gained super valuable experience, beyond like Correa and Vasquez. Not too many guys had a ton of experience. Oh man, David, Correa's last hit, that was like 110 miles per hour, but just directly at him. And like the Polanco, you lead off the game with Julian getting the double, and then Polanco hits a hard hit ball, and it's just directly at Pena, and he tags out Julian. On the broadcast, AJ did a nice job of sort of letting Julian off the hook on that one and say there was just nothing you can do there as a base runner. You're just kind of screwed in that situation. And it was tough. Yeah, Andrew, that's a great point. Pablo Extension looks so clutch now. He's really the guy who leveled up the most. Absolutely. How many teams can say they feel really good about their game one playoff starter? Not that many. And the Twins can say, we've got this guy, Pablo Lopez, and we've got him around for a while, and he's shown it. We know we get into the playoffs. There's a lot of other things to figure out. There's a lot of other things to improve, but we have maybe the most difficult thing to fill. A game one starter. Perhaps the most difficult thing to find. If you're trying to build a postseason team, a game one starter, and the Twins have him and he is locked in. There's been a lot of talk about the future being bright based off of some of the rookies this year. But I think that all starts with Pablo Lopez. If you want to talk about the future being bright, Pablo Lopez is going to be around for a while. And kind of on that, we will talk a little bit about offseason. Okay, you guys got me going into it. You guys got me going. I'm not going to get into specifics, but it would not surprise me at all to see the Twins have another huge challenge trade, to where they're, like the Luis Ariz trade. I would even say the Chase Petty, Sonny Gray trade was a pretty big challenge trade. That wasn't a baseball trade. That was a prospects for a proven player trade. But this organization always seems to be pretty open to kind of shifting the last few years. Like, okay, this formula didn't work. Let's try to figure out something else. Trading out of the Donaldson contract was a pretty big. If you think about it, that was their biggest. That was kind of their marquee transaction at that time. Was signing Josh Donaldson, and they traded their way out of that. That was so they've really been willing to make moves, and like even if they think it could make them look bad or if there's a big risk there, they've been really willing to do it. I think we're going to see in some way, and it's way too early to even speculate who that might be, but they might look at this roster and someone who we wouldn't think would be a trade candidate might get traded. It all depends on how desperate another team is. That's kind of the Luis Ariz story. And there was a lot of Paddock talk earlier. As long as we're on that kind of Pablo being established for next year, man, it's looking pretty cool to have Chris Paddock around. We'll see. It's hard to know how a guy who's missed that much time is going to come back, and especially if you expect him to be a starting pitcher and work a full starter's load. There's a lot of, things yet to be figured out with Paddock. He's not a guy who's been really healthy ever. But you understand, you understand why the Twins were after that guy. And apparently the Twins were really on Paddock. They'd asked the Padres for Paddock multiple times before they finally acquired him. So they've loved that guy for a really long time. And man, he showed tonight, especially, what it is that you would be chasing there. He was amazing. So it's going to be really fun to see what becomes of that too. This foundation for this team next year is looking really solid. And again, I do think they're going to play around with that some. I think some of the guys we are under the assumption will be big pieces of this team won't be around next year. Trevor Larnach, I wouldn't be at all surprised, if Kirilloff, Miranda, Larnach kind of all find their footing too. Those guys aren't guys to completely write off yet. Emilio Pagan, man, what a year he had. That was kind of another fun, like, little side story of this postseason run is, at least me, I think I got to understand a little bit, kind of look on the outside looking in, how much of like a leader that Emilio Pagan is in that clubhouse and that bullpen. He guys really looked up to him and looked to him for being like a playoff. He had some playoff experience and just supporting his teammates. And he pitched well this year, Yeah, the Twins should offer Sonny the qualifying offer. I'm not sure how that's going to work. If he retires, I don't think any of that works, though. I don't think he's gonna, but I don't know. That'll be an interesting story to follow. You only have the opportunity to be a professional baseball player for so long. So if you're going to walk away from that, I understand. I've got kids too. I've got a family too. That's got to be pulling him pretty hard. And if he feels like he's done everything he wants to do in this game, if he's made all the money he wants to in this game, I wouldn't put it past him to walk away. But again, you only get an opportunity to be playing at the highest level for so long. And there's not that many guys that walk away from that while still able to, still healthy, still performing, and Sonny's certainly still performing. So I'll be really curious to see how that all works out. Absolutely. Did Correa hit into a double play all postseason? I mean, it was only 6 games. So was he one of the ones that Verlander got? I don't remember. Oh, but yeah, it's over. Man, it felt like that whole game the Twins were going to find a way. It did. It felt like that whole game somebody was going to figure it out. Somebody was going to come through. Something was going to happen. It just didn't. Man, again, credit to the pitching staff. Credit to the bullpen. That was so much fun watching Duran go 2 innings. I loved that. That was awesome. It was just cool, and it was cool to see even just hearing Adam Wainwright just gush about Yohan Duran for 2 innings. That was so much fun. AJ was all, I mean, he's remarkable. It's alien stuff he's doing out there. Yeah, the bullpen shoved. I was really and again, man, how long were some people asking for like, oh, Duran, can you give us just a clean inning? Just one. He wasn't really wavering, I wouldn't say, but he certainly wasn't dominant for a little stretch there in the second half. To where compared to his 2022, which was just ridiculous, he had a dope postseason, and that's another guy where you talk about how important was this experience to have these games. Now Duran, he's not only just like the king of nasty, wicked, demon stuff. This guy's also pitched in massive, huge postseason games. That is such a huge level up for him. To where you can, again, the Twins next year, we have the number one guy, Pablo Lopez, a legit number one starter. Yohan Duran, legit postseason trusted closer now. You can say that too. Those guys, again, I've been talking about this concept of like guys getting the stamp, guys getting minted. Nobody like got to elevate themselves onto the Correa level, of postseason G. But that guy ain't going anywhere either. And, imagine this team with some better health from Correa, with some better health from Buxton, which, that's always tough to count on. And as these guys kind of get into their 30s and more, that gets to be a little bit more of a concern. But, this team's not going anywhere for sure. They have room to grow. They have catching up to do on a team like the Astros. But this team's not going anywhere. We can reasonably bank on a very fun summer next year, and I think that is awesome. That has not always been the case when we've been sitting here drowning in our beers over the Twin season being over. So I'm pumped up about that. Yeah, Danny mentions the Orioles. The Orioles were an amazing regular season team and then got swept. That's it's another good example. It's just different. It's different. The regular season and the postseason are different, and there's just so much randomness. There's so much of it is random. So I hesitate to add too much value into really anything, but I think you can look at the Twins roster and look at the Astros roster. To some degree, look at the Texas roster, especially if you were to assume full health. I mean, the Rangers have gotten this far without DeGrom and Scherzer. Like, what? Oh my God. Like, what is that? So yeah, some of these teams are really impressively built up. And that doesn't mean it's impossible. I'm kind of glossing over the Diamondbacks, who are not built as some kind of uber team, unstoppable force. So, there's hope there. There's been a lot of World Series teams that have not been all that impressive. It doesn't always take the perfect team. Thank you, Steve. Appreciate you. Hey, if anybody was at the game, Steve, if you were at the game, anybody who's at the game, thank you. Thank you. You guys showed out and were awesome and amazing. Despite the team having kind of a frustrating performance, you guys were tremendous. Target Field was rocking. Said it earlier. I'm just super proud of this fan base. Super proud to include myself in this fan base. We kicked ass this postseason. Again, Twins fans have a new identity. Absolutely. We have a new identity. We established that this postseason. I'm loving it. Absolutely loving it. Yeah, the Phillies and the D-backs, man, the Phillies were so much fun. That was a team that didn't have a good season last year. I think they were like the 89-win team. They might have been the last wildcard team to get in last year, and they made it all the way to the World Series. So that kind of goes to, but they were just a good team. You could tell, kind of like this, like what I'm saying about this Astros team. You could tell, like, yeah, they only won 90 games for the Astros. I think Philadelphia only won 89 last year. But if you look at the names and you look at the roster, it's like, yeah, that's a World Series team. That team could go to the World Series, if they get hot. That team was really fun last year. That team is really fun this year. I haven't got a chance to watch a whole lot of the NL stuff yet, but I've seen the Diamondbacks play a decent amount this season. That's a great team, great young team, fun team, and they kind of have some of those building blocks of that checklist, off-season checklist of what you're trying to put together as well. Fun team. Again, I've got months to dig in. I'm not going to get too deep into free agents or anything like that personally, but you guys certainly talk amongst you. Is Pete Alonso a free agent? Like that's I guess that's the part I'll talk about. Is to me, it's not even like what positions we're looking for. It's like, okay, we need a middle of the order bat. Don't care what position. We'll make room. We'll figure it out the rest of it. Needs to be a big time middle of the order bat, big power guy. I can't remember if Pete Alonso is a free agent or if he's rumored to be on the trade block. Right now, I've got an Indeed day tripper pale ale. Oh yeah, Pete Alonso is a free agent. That would be huge. Edouard Julien at first. That's kind of like the natural thought. He's gotten a lot better at second base. But the Twins have a ton of second base options. They have a lot of options. A lot of options. Oh, okay. Alonso's arbitration eligible. Is it his last year of arbitration eligibility? A lot of those guys get traded because you get expensive in that last year of arbitration eligibility. So a lot of those guys end up getting traded. I know he's getting up there, but is Paul Goldschmidt a free agent? You guys see, you're hooking me into this. I told you I didn't want to get into this, but now you guys got my wheels turning. I think, I'm not sure if Goldie is, but like a Goldschmidt, he's still really good, and there is that sort of late career, like hey, Sungmin Kim out here. Oh, are you kidding me? Did you see the balloons? I got an update on my computer. I don't know if you guys saw that I shared a blooper on Twitter. I hope that came through on the live stream. That might have actually just been on my screen. Yes. I got some kind of an update, but we got the balloons for Sungmin Kim. I got some kind of weird update on my computer, and now like there's these gestures that I have no idea on how to control. But I think if I throw my hands up like this, the balloons come. No, okay, it's worth a shot. Man, if you wanted proof we're live, there we go. There we have it. Oh man, I needed that. Thanks for hanging out. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere quite yet. Yeah, not ready to put this away. Not ready to put this one away. It was a fun season. It was a very fun season. Yeah, night baseball better than day baseball. Yeah. Yeah, Greg, man, that's been a frustrating thing this whole postseason. I mean, having this what league does this? It does. Some of you guys that watch some of the other leagues more, thank you for the kind words. Lots of people coming in here with some kind words. Really appreciate it. I had a blast. This is the most fun I've had in a long time. And I mean, I've been covering the Twins on a daily basis in some fashion for many years now. Back from when I started the game recaps on Twins Daily. For a minute there, I was a little bit behind the scenes, working as the content editor there, more kind of helping other people go through that process. And then obviously switching over to this channel and kind of finding a format here. I had a blast. I got really down on the team for a little while there in the early going, especially, and even on the prospects. I mean, There was a point where the Twins were pissing me off. There was a point where the prospects weren't doing hardly anything, and it was just frustrating. And it was really awesome to just ride the wave. That's what's crazy about the baseball season, man. It's so long. There's so many games, so many games. The identity of a team changes so much throughout a baseball season. It's amazing. Some of the guys who had the best years in the minor leagues too, like weren't even having that good of a year in May. It's crazy. It's crazy. It was really rewarding. It was so much fun. I think this was kind of a unique Twins team. I think they had the best. This is impossible for me to say on the outside looking in. But you guys let me know. You guys let me know if I'm wrong. I feel like this team had the best chemistry of a Twins team in a really long time. And obviously winning helps build that. Winning, I don't know what it's like, the chicken and the egg. What came first, the winning or the chemistry? I'm not sure. If you lose a lot, you probably don't have that good of chemistry. If you win a lot, you're probably going to have good chemistry. But it really felt like these guys got along, that these guys. Ooh, Steve, good call out. Jamie Cameron and Jeremy Nygaard have a really cool show in which they talk a lot about prospects. That is available on YouTube. That is available as a podcast. It's available at Twins Daily. You guys should check that out. JD Cameron made sure I wasn't dead when I was at the game, the clinching game, and I'm pretty sure I fainted. That's after the last out. legitimately think I might have fainted at the last out, and he checked in on me to make sure I wasn't dead. So I appreciate that. But yeah, they do a great job. They're going to keep rolling too. So keep an eye on that. Destination the Show is what that one's called. Jeremy's always been an incredible resource for like especially draft stuff, like that guy, and he's got history with it. So he's got a lot of background, a lot of context. Can't say enough things about those guys. That's the other thing too. I mentioned I've had a lot of fun this year. I think as a Twins fan, taking myself out of the equation, as a Twins fan, I think we have the best coverage landscape we've ever had. I think everybody who is covering the team is just crushing it. And there have been times, different times in my fandom where I did not feel like that was the case. I feel like a lot of the kind of traditional beat writers for the big newspapers are awesome. I feel like some of the kind of new school traditional people or new school outlets, like The Athletic, who maybe aren't connected to a newspaper, but online. I mean, Dan and Aaron crush it. It's a treasure. It is a treasure to have Aaron covering the Twins on such a regular basis these days. He was always doing Gleeman and the Geek, but, for a long time there, he was involved in a lot of other projects. To have him producing Twins content on a regular basis is a treasure. Claude. Oh, Claude. Oh, I love you for that one, Claude. I love you for that one. No comment. I'm gonna move forward. Oh, that's good. That's good stuff. Yeah, Dan Hayes is absolutely goated. Yeah, Dan's great. Yeah, him and Aaron do great work. I would say too, like, shout out to Phil Miller. Phil Miller was the press conference MVP, no doubt about it. He asked the best questions at the press conferences. He's great. Speaking of Edouard Julien and his defense, that actually, I think that it may be because it's fresh in my mind. Maybe because it's fresh in my mind. But I think that was my favorite article of the entire season. Was Dan did like a really big feature article on Julien and his defense, all the work that he's put in to get better. I don't want to give too much away on that because I want you to go read it if you subscribe to The Athletic. If you don't subscribe to The Athletic, honestly, you should try. I should be sponsored at this point by how much I'm gushing over these guys. But what was the weirdest Twins moment? That's a fun question. That's a fun question. The weirdest Twins moment of 2023. I'm gonna have to come out. I'm gonna have to think harder on that one. You guys, let me know. That's a great question brought up in the chat there. What was the weirdest Twins moment of 23? Do we have alternate prospects at first base in the MLB? You know, the Twins don't really. That's kind of the surprising thing about them getting Aaron Sabato in the first round in 2020. They don't really like first base prospects, and I kind of get it. A lot of guys just end up at first base, or that's where you stick guys that can't really play defense that well, which is maybe what's going to happen to Edouard Julien. That was kind of what happened to Luis Ariz when he was here. That's kind of what happened to Alex Kirilloff, but he's actually a decent defensive outfielder. So the Twins don't really go out and try to get guys at first base. A lot of the guys end up there. Like I'm thinking of like down in the minor league system, like Jorel Ortega ended up playing quite a bit of first base for Cedar Rapids just because they had so many other guys that could play second base and third base. Junior Severino, the guy who tied for the minor league lead in home runs this season. Junior Severino ended up at first base. Hadn't really played first base until he got up with the Saints. And again, it was just sort of like, he can play third, he can play second. Not a great defender, but he can play at those positions. And it was like they have so many guys that can play third, so many guys that can play second. He just ended up at first. So yeah, if you were asking about first base prospects, it's maybe like a little bit like Miranda. That would you say that you probably won't find many places list Severino as a first base prospect? They'll probably list him as a third baseman, but he played first base in St. Paul. That's a switch hitter who has crazy power, a little boomer bust. So, as we, I don't think a lot of you guys are going to enjoy that who want some more contact hitting and strikes and less strikeouts, but yeah, Severino, I expect him to be added to the 40-man roster. And once you're on the 40-man roster, it's such a huge barrier. It only takes one injury or one unexpected thing to have happen. I will say that, Steve. We're going to keep it positive on here. I've clashed with Phil on some stuff. But they're out there. They're out there putting it out there. Judd is kind of crazy sometimes, but it's almost like entertaining. It is a different formula. And it's nice to have a lot of content out there. As from a fan's perspective, it's nice to have a lot of content out there, a lot of different flavors. Owen, thanks. Appreciate that. I like that call, Greg. And I don't think we ever got an explanation on that. Why did they start wearing the vest backwards? Is it just easier to put on and they're just lazy, or what was that? Very strange that they decided to put the fishing vest on backwards. I'm trying to jump into this a little bit more. You guys are doing great. I'm going to hang out. I'm going to hang out a while. I know we're kind of running out of steam. There's a little bit, I think a lot of people tuned out, but this is it. This is the last night of Twins baseball. So is Brooks Lee opening day roster? Probably not. Maybe I was talking about it. Maybe he's one of those guys we wouldn't think would get traded, who's going to get traded. When teams are in a competitive cycle like this, they definitely look toward their prospect capital more as how can we improve the major league team. If we're going to assume that Carlos Correa is going to be the shortstop for a while, if we're going to assume that Royce Lewis is going to be third baseman for a while, Edouard Julien isn't going anywhere for a while, this is sort of the conversation that had with guys like Christian Encarnacion Strand and Spencer Steer. At a certain point, you only have so many positions for so many guys. The Twins do like depth; they do a great job with depth. Brooks Lee's a switch hitter, so that sort of gives him some extra. A lot of good switch hitters in this organization. I would not expect Brooks Lee to be on the opening day roster, but the fact that he ended the year in AAA means he is very close to consideration. I would expect we will see Brooks Lee in the majors next year for sure. Austin Martin, kind of interesting, kind of same kind of conversation. Will he make the opening day roster? I don't think they will plan on that. But sometimes stuff happens. Guys are hurt to open the year. He's another guy that's going to be right there. He's going to be right there. Played in AAA this year, played all over the place. I think moving him off of shortstop was the right call. I just think there was and he didn't play shortstop in college even. So it's kind of crazy that the Blue Jays were trying to make Austin Martin a shortstop, and then the Twins kind of carried that forward a little bit too. I think it's good for his development that they are just letting him play outfield and second base. But he's there. But again, with any of these guys that haven't played in the major leagues, the Twins are in a competitive cycle to where you're probably looking at those guys as much as trade bait potentially as you are as trying to improve the major league roster. And again, those guys are going to be major leaguers. Absolutely, those guys are going to be major leaguers. But again, back to my talking point, what do the Twins need? The Twins need a badass middle of the order big bopper bat. If there's one thing I think the Twins need to add to legitimize their team in a playoff postseason run, I know that's completely opposite probably from what everybody else is saying with them striking out so much. But yeah, I think regardless of position, they just need a monster in the middle of the lineup, just a terrifying force in that middle of the lineup. Yeah, Austin Martin, but he might kind of fill in, and they might kind of use him as your sort of Michael A. Taylor Buxton insurance. That's possible. They might do that with Royce Lewis. I know. Bring some anxiety attack to think about Royce Lewis in the outfield again. But I remember when he was coming back and they were talking about their plans for him, and they said they kind of made it a point to say, we're only going to keep him on the infield for now. For this year, he's only going to play in the infield. Yeah, Schwarber. Yeah, that's the exact kind of guy I'm talking about. But yeah, you're right. There would be a lot of people groaning about that. That guy was a monster in the that's a great example of like a guy that can just carry your lineup in a month. You get a guy like that hot in October, and you're going to the World Series. Like you don't believe me? It happened. Oh, Solera, free agent? That seems like it'd be a good option. We talking about picking up Max and Polanco's options? That's a slam dunk to me. Again, I think a lot of this stuff there's a lot of opportunity to make this lineup better. But I think you got to kind of shift your view on some of these guys. And I'll say this about Buxton too. I think a lot of people that really, really are angry. There's a lot of people angry about Byron Buxton. I think they're way too like weirdly obsessed with his contract. And it's like, it's not even that bad of a contract. It's just like, we're not used to seeing guys get $100 million as Twins fans from the Twins. With Polanco and Kepler, I would say the same thing in a way. It's more the value you're putting on them than what they are. These guys should be really good complementary pieces on a tremendous lineup. They would be really good complementary pieces on a tremendous lineup. They're not the guys that can carry a lineup, and maybe that's why they feel deficient right now, because they don't have that guy that can carry the lineup right now. Yeah, and you can tell I have not prepared the off-season talks yet. Thank you, Michael. You ain't gonna miss anybody. I'm gonna be around. But obviously we won't be talking about the 2023 season. I will miss talking about this 2023 team. As we know, the composition of this team will be different. That's just the way baseball works. Some of these guys we love on this team are going to be gone. And like to go back to that, like there's going to be things we don't expect that are going to happen. Like I don't think anybody expected Gio or Shella to get traded coming into this year. There's every year there is some kind of, at the end of the year, you would think, oh, that guy will be around. Oh, that guy's definitely going to be here next year. And for whatever reason, again, they get to the last year of arbitration, they get a little bit expensive, whatever. Another team just gets hot for that guy. And the Twins, just find a trade that they like. You don't know. So, yeah, we'll keep rolling. But, yeah, this team's not going to be the same. Darren, thank you so much. You guys have been awesome. This is a day, we're all up against it right now. We're all up against our favorite team lost. Season over. You guys are bringing some love in here. Really appreciate that. Again, and I feel like I should pivot again to the crowd, man. We kick ass. Collectively, we can all say that in here right now, in this space. We as Twins fans are awesome. We have established a new identity. I feel like the curse being broken, it has changed things. I feel different. I'm honestly, I feel different. I feel like this is a completely new vibe. Obviously they didn't go on some kind of a crazy run. They only advanced one round. I know there was some debate about, Rochelle was out there too. Nice. Thank you. Again, anybody that shows up in here and says they were in the crowd, I'm going to thank you, all of you individually, because that was amazing. Absolutely loved it. J-Dubs with some more love. Appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, I think that's maybe like that's what I'm holding on to. I'll put it that way. I was almost going to say that's the biggest takeaway, but that's not right. That's what I'm holding on to, man. Yeah, we established a new Twins fandom this postseason, and we're out there, man. We're out there. We're going insane. Michael, thanks for kicking ass out there. It's weird in that ballpark, man. There's some areas that get super cold with the wind that whips through. In the 300 level, there's those gaps where if you've seen the shadows when they talk about those shadows when they're trying to hit, that comes from those gaps up at the top. And through those gaps, man, the wind can whip through there. When I was making that video on game 2 of the wild card series, where I walked around the stadium and I took a bunch of fan reactions from different spots, there were points where that was a hot day that day too. There were points where I was like, okay, I need a coat over here, and I need to take off half my clothes over here. It's crazy how different the temperatures can feel in that stadium based on the wind chill. But yeah, it can get rough up there sometimes if you're in that wind tunnel. But I will add this to kind of go back to that Kepler and Polanco discussion. Absolutely pick up their options, but maybe those are a couple guys who are in that conversation of guys we would assume would be on next year's team that might get traded. Absolutely should pick up their options because they're very affordable, slam dunk options. But maybe they don't get cold, or maybe I'm reading and talking at the same time. If you can tell, maybe they get traded. I don't know. I'll be doing something for the AFL eventually. Absolutely. Fired up about Andrew Cassetti being there. I love him so much. I think I had him inside my top 20 Twins prospects on my last update. I think that guy's a dude, man. That was a great pick. Yeah, and then if you can get out of the elements at Target Field, yeah, that's a great option to have. And then you can do whatever you want. You can be in there, you can not be in there, whatever. Trying to catch out really quick. Oh man, Zeed, dude, for real. I'm gonna pull that up. That's deflating, man. Yeah, there's this talk about the Twins losing streak when facing elimination. Like, can we not do that, please? Do we have to have this a streak? We just got the one out of the way. Can we not do that? For those of you who don't know, like the Twins are now in some kind of a huge losing streak in elimination games. It's not historic. It's not like the most ever yet, but it's like that's kind of the new thing. It's like, I'm all for like fun facts and digging up interesting trends and streaks, but like, man, leave us alone for a minute. leave us alone. Oh, I missed that. Verlander was dropping F-bombs. That guy's incredible, That guy's amazing. 40 years old. 40 years old and still doing it. Crazy. Chris ended the streak. That's awesome. Yeah, that's a good point, too. When you lose 18 in a row, a lot of them are going to be elimination games. Yeah. Leave us alone. Let us have our thing be gone, people. Jeez. Rough out here. Man, we still out here, though. I love it. We still out here. That's a good point, too. Man, there's a lot of huge market teams that acquired all sorts of crazy players. Not to say that that's bad. I'm a pro player guy, so guys getting paid is good, but it's not easy. It's not easy to make the playoffs all the time. So yeah, that's more embarrassing than any kind of streak from making the playoffs and losing. Now, you want to talk about that? Huh. Yeah, that's another silly one. They're just hold on. Yeah, there we go. They're just trying to make stuff up at this point. Have not won a home game in the ALDS. Like what? Oh man, that's like what analytics sounds like to people who hate analytics. Like all those qualifiers. Oh boy. Yeah, man, the AL East didn't even win a game. The whole AL East. That looked like a bunch of baddies. Didn't win a game. Man. If Verlander stayed in New York. That's a fun question. If Verlander stayed in New York, I don't think that Houston wins their division. So they would have been a wild card team. We probably would have played them in the first round instead. And without Verlander, I'd like to say that it would have been an easier task, but I don't know. That's an interesting what if. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how things go. I think that what the Twins really need to do. I'm not sure that they did that. I don't know. It's hard to say. Because you got to give them credit for. I understand the Correa saga was weird. They were the third place team in that. It's not as if they offered him the most money. They're paying this guy $200 million. They're paying this guy $200 million. That's the reality of the situation. They went out and got Correa. They re-signed Pablo. Paying him pretty good. Part of me kind of feels like the next stage is the Twins need to look beyond the AL Central. Again, just making the playoffs ain't easy. It ain't easy. A lot can go wrong. As was pointed out by Gabriel, a lot of these big money teams didn't make it. So it's not like, you can guarantee success just by spending money. But I do think the Twins need to kind of elevate, and then that's maybe the I mentioned that even the front office can benefit from a playoff run, and maybe that's kind of the story that they can grab onto here is that you got to elevate. It's not just about winning the AL Central, which we'll see what the offseason brings, but I mean, you look at things now. Look at things now. I mean, next year might be a cakewalk for the Twins in this division. I don't know. Baseball's weird. Things change fast. But on paper, you would think that the Twins are really in the driver's seat for this division, especially next year, potentially several years now. But, is that the goal? That was a big talking point kind of during the many years where the streak was really adding up fast. Was it seemed like the Twins were, just winning the division title and kind of couldn't quite build a team to get beyond that point. And I think that's kind of the challenge now. And that's a good thing to have. If like last season, if they would have collapsed, you can't have that conversation yet. You kind of got to get to this point before you can have that conversation. And I think now should be the bar. Okay, we've won the division. We've advanced in the playoffs. That's our bar. We have to try to get above that next year. And it's going to be interesting to see how the Twins approach that. Again, they've taken a lot of risks. They've taken a lot of risks, in my opinion, this front office. And it's going to be interesting to see what is it that they're going to do differently. Dude, for real. This could look crazy. The Pablo Lopez contract could look insane. I mean, this guy, I know if you look at some of his numbers on the surface level from this season, a lot of people kind of could be a little bit lukewarm on them. But if you look, the under the hood numbers are incredible. And then his postseason performance obviously has elevated him to another level, even though it's only 2 starts. I still feel like that's fair. I still feel like that's super fair. So yeah, Pablo's contract, that was an investment for sure. That's money you're throwing out there, but that looks like a great deal. And it looks like potentially absurd. And who knows what his journey is going to look like. Pitching is really hard to predict. Guys get hurt so much, but if I love the fact I don't know that there's ever been a player who's like wiggled his way into my heart more than Pablo Lopez in such a short time. He's just the man. He's amazing. He's a great teammate. Seems like a great dude, super smart. I think there was really something going on with the rotation this year to where all those guys were pushing each other, challenging each other. I think he is a huge part of the fabric of this team, and to have him with that extension, I think you can see that a little bit with Correa as an example. When you get a guy like that on a 1-year contract, like Correa was still like a special. He came in and he made it pretty clear he was going to be a leader last year, even on a 1-year deal. And he was a big clubhouse presence. But I feel like that was even more so this year, now that they have a long-term relationship with each other. And Correa knows he's going to be here for a long time. I feel like that same thing's going to happen with Pablo Lopez, to where those guys are really going to establish the identity of the entire organization over the next few years. And when could you ever say that? When could you ever say that in Twins history? You probably got to go back to like Killebrew Cott or something. It's crazy. It's going to be awesome. Yeah, Pablo, that's a great point, Andrew. Pablo bought the vest. How often, too, like there's a lot of teams and a lot of, clubhouse things where it's like the starting pitchers are one thing, or even the pitchers are one thing, and then the position players are a different thing. He's even getting that mix going to where you've got leaders who are blending in with both sides, pitching and the lineup. Yeah, I'm so excited that he's going to be around for so long. It's going to be massive. Um, I think he's going to be a really good poster boy. He has been for the Twins, talking about how much they helped him with his sweeper. I mean, if I'm a pitcher, and I'm a free agent, I'm like, obviously everybody's got their preferences. Some guys want to pitch, close to home or whatever, but the Twins are now an established contender and can say like, look, we helped this guy. We helped this guy get to the next level. Pablo Lopez was a really good pitcher before coming here, but now he's up on this level. We helped him get to that level. That's going to be a huge advertisement. Same with Carlos Correa. We could be like, hey, we're building something here. We got this guy who's a dog. He got that dog in him. And, he knows what he's doing out there. He does all the little things. He's going to teach you about the game. You're going to find the next level here playing next to this guy. It's a great foundation this team has. The Arise trade, I still miss Luis. We all love him. I said it the other day, one of the most likable players, I think, in Twins history. Honestly, Luis Arise. But, you got to give something good to get something good. And the Twins did a really great job of identifying a really special player and person in Pablo Lopez to make that work. I still think some of those prospects they got could end up working out. They're a long ways away, though. Long ways away. And when you're in your competitive cycle, that stuff, you don't want to worry too much about that stuff. But yeah, and Royce Lewis. We got Royce Lewis. He gonna be around for a while. Yeah, the foundation's very nice. Yeah, I get the point on the Astros being this deep in the playoffs for this many years in a row maybe isn't like a great thing for competitive balance, but at the same time, like, you look at some of these guys, it's not like they paid a bunch of money to get Framber Valdez. I don't think he was a big money signing at all. They've just done a good job. They've just done their baseball operations has been really good for the most part, is how they've kind of gotten to this point. I mean, they tanked for a while, and that helped them out. That was kind of more of their first cycle when they first won the World Series. That Jose Altuve is a guy that they got for nothing originally. They signed him to a big contract extension, so credit to them for that. But they've done a lot of really good things on a baseball development level. It doesn't remind me of like the Jeter, Bernie Williams era Yankees, where you could kind of make an argument, well, they're just spending all the money. They're just spending more money than anybody else every year. Doesn't feel like that with the Astros as much. Yeah, a lot of the top picks they hit on, which you might say, hey, if you're picking at the top of the draft, it should be easy. It's not easy. That's the thing that I don't like about the tanking idea. You can point to a team like the Astros and be like, well, they did it. It's easy. You just have to lose for a while. Look at there have been a ton of teams that have been crap for a decade, and you look back on their draft picks and it's like none of them panned out, and some of that is obviously scouting, some of that is development. It's a little bit of both, but it's so easy to say like, oh, just tank and to pretend like that's an easy button. It'll help your odds, certainly picking at the top of drafts, but it's harder than it should be. I would say it should be easier. It should kind of be like that, but it's so much. Yeah. The Tigers, tons of teams, the Pirates. And I know they had a better year this year, but the Pirates have been terrible forever. Terrible. The Athletics and the Rockies. Yeah. And that's why there was many times over the past, handful of years, a lot of people just said, hey, the Twins should tank and try to do the Astros thing, or the Cubs did it too successfully. So for a minute there, it was looking like a pretty, to be fair, it was looking like a really good strategy for a minute there. There were teams that had done it successfully, but it is so much harder to do than it can appear sometimes. And like part of the Cubs one was like, didn't they like pretty much steal? Oh gosh, names. This is where the live streams really go off, is when I have to rely on my memory, which is just terrible. Rizzo. Rizzo, a big part of the Cubs one was like they just stole Rizzo from the Red Sox pretty much. That's not tanking. You just made a good trade, you know? Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, Edouard Julien. Maybe that's the weirdest thing. Greg, I don't know if Greg's still around. What did he ask? I can't know. He didn't. He had a good answer. Somebody asked what was the weirdest thing about the Twins season this year, and that's maybe a good answer is that nobody could find a helmet that fit Edouard Julien. I came with reserves. We're 100. We're an hour and 20 minutes in. Whatever. Again, this is the last night of Twins baseball, 2023. Oh my gosh, Immaculate Grid live time. That would be such a disaster. Oh, that would be such a disaster. Because it's always like I get the guys on the tip of my tongue, but then I can like see their face or like their number, or I can remember like a certain thing about them, but then I struggle with the names. I'm so bad at that. So bad. Oh, you're right. It might have been both the Padres and the Red Sox, Z. But yeah, Rizzo bounced around there. Or was it a three-way trade? I don't remember. But case in point, I don't think the Cubs started with him or like they got him from tanking, whatever. There's a great example of my memory being terrible. Do you need that look good right now? Oh God. Oh man, Ryan. My favorite baseball team just got eliminated. You want me to embarrass myself live on the internet? Oh man. I thought you were nicer than that, man. Yeah, Greg. It's tough. It's tough. Oh man, you guys are gonna haze me into doing this. Hold on. I didn't prep for potentially having two screens. I'm gonna need two screens for this. We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. Yeah, you just gotta give me a sec. I feel like such a boomer right now. I'm trying to figure out how to hook this up. There we go. This is how much I love you guys. I'm willing to embarrass myself here. All right. Well, while we're getting that going, what else we got going on? LaTroy Hawkins is usually the cheat code. That's a good one. Yeah. I always try to think of like relievers, and it's funny. I should probably start to collect cards again because that's actually a lot of the things I will remember is from back when I used to collect baseball cards. So I think I'm like a very visual person when it comes to that. Hold up, where are we at here? We're right here. All right, you guys have bullied me into this. All right, I'm not going to cheat either. I'm not going to look at the chat. I'm going to do my best. 3,000 Ks for the Diamondbacks. That's got to be Randy Johnson, right? Boom. We got one. At least I'm not getting shut out. 3,000 Ks for the Rangers. Well, that's Nolan Ryan, right? I'm not trying to, I know some of you guys go for like the rarity score. I can't do that. You kidding me? I cannot do that. 3,000 K. Well, we'll save those. We'll save those. I'm pretty terrible at some of these too. Oh man, I might have burned Nolan Ryan. I should have used Nolan Ryan as the Met and the Ranger. Oh, Randy Johnson would have worked as the Diamondback and the Yankee too. Oh, I killed myself. See that? This is where I kill myself. I got too ambitious here. I got too anxious, and I thought, oh, I'll get these guys in here. Now I'm screwed. Oh man, that was killer. That was killer. And see, this is where I get like now I'm just flustered at this point. Now I'm just flustered. I feel like I came in with the wrong strategy and I blew it. Oh man, that's killer. Well, hey, I know we could think of one here. Tommy Pham. I know him. That's a recent one. That's where maybe my memory isn't there. Hold on. Oh, here's a rarity one. I'm gonna go for this one. This might be wrong, but I'm gonna go for a former Twins great. Matt Lawton. Was he on the Rangers? I know he was on the Mets. Oh no. All right. Well, we missed one there. I went for it. I should have thought about it more. Oh man, that was rough. Well, some of you guys, I'm sure, are like screaming at me right now. Man, I should have saved Randy Johnson and Nolan Ryan. Diamondbacks and a Yankee. Man, I don't want to think about the Yankees right now. Jesus. Oh, this is brutal. You guys are the worst. Making me think about the Yankees on a day the Twins got eliminated. You guys are just awful. Just the worst. Well, here we go. Yankee. Babe Ruth. Okay, we're playing it safe. We're playing it real safe now. Tom Seaver's in the Hall of Fame, right? We're going with an exclusive Tom grid with Tommy Pham, Tom Seaver. How many other Toms can we get in this thing? See, and then these guys are the guys that come to my mind too with 3,000 plus career Ks and in the Hall of Fame. I blew it, man. I should have saved these guys. 3,000 Ks in the Hall of Fame. This is brutal, you guys. This is so mean. Does Pedro, like, I always think of like the guys who are amazing, but then a lot of those guys had shorter careers. So a lot of those guys that come to my mind don't fit in these. For some reason, I'm thinking Pedro right now. But did he have 3,000 career strikeouts? He wasn't the most durable guy, but I feel like he got there, right? He got there. Okay. Man, that would have been embarrassing. I feel like those are like the gimme ones. I sweated out for a minute there on those ones. All right, I don't want to think about the Yankees. So we're going Mets, Rangers, who are like just like anonymous teams in my brain. I don't think about these teams at all. Like, who's on the Mets now or on the Rangers now? Oh gosh. Is there a Tom who's played on these teams? That's all I can do on grid. Are there more Toms? Oh, you guys are so mean for making me do this. Oh, I gotta think some more. A Met and a Ranger. Like, these are two teams that just, especially the Rangers, for some reason, that do not occupy my thought space very much. Well, hey, DeGrom. Gosh, I'm sure some of you guys were just screaming that, right? Oh, come on. I know there's not a space there. All right, we close. I got the one wrong. I went with Matt Lawton. I felt like he was in there. I wonder if maybe he was like a spring training invitee to the Rangers one year. And that's why I got that one. Doesn't count, though. Man, again, making me think about the Yankees. On a day the Twins got eliminated. You guys are awful. Just awful. Oh. Everybody's favorite. Chapman. Bang. There. Are you happy now? J.R. Murphy. That's amazing. Oh, man. All right. Well, I hope you guys are happy. I hope you guys are happy. Making a poor man thinking about the Yankees on the day the Twins were eliminated. Oh, geez, Joey Gallo. Yeah, Joey Gallo would have been in there. So I didn't get. Okay, I want to get this though. I didn't look at the chat. A Diamondback and a Yankee was the only guess I didn't go to, and I know Randy Johnson would work there, which again frustrated. Man, I'm drawing a big blank on that one. Ugh, and see, that's about as much as thinking about that as I feel like doing. Man, some of you guys have so many good answers to these. I really feel like for some reason when I sit through these and I really think about them, I go back to like my card collecting days of like the mid '90s, and like those are like the images that stick in my head. Like I can think of some of those card designs. And obviously the Diamondbacks, maybe that's why I'm not as good at the Diamondbacks. They're not in there. And I stayed relevant. Yeah, I stayed current on most of these. But it's funny how that works sometimes. Man, J.R. Murphy. On that topic, what a trip it is to see Aaron Hicks contributing for Baltimore this year. I know they got bounced, but that's a trip. That's a trip. Tim LoCastro. Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Like when I'm thinking of Diamondbacks though, like I'm going back to like who are the Diamondbacks in my mind? Like I'm going back to like Matt Williams, Luis Gonzalez, like guys of that era. Randy Johnson sticks out. Kurt Schilling sticks out. Tyler Clippard. That's it, man. That's another good one. There's so many good relievers in Immaculate Grid. Did Hawkins work on that one? Tony Womack. Nice. Did Hawkins pitch for? I know he pitched for the Yankees, right? Did he pitch for the Diamondbacks? There's so many of those relievers that have pitched for like 15 guys. Rich Hill is another guy who I will kind of go to as like a last resort. I'll try to think, did Rich Hill pitch for these guys? Mike Morgan, that's a good reliever who pitched all over the place. Lyle Overbay, he played for the Yankees? I don't think I remembered Lyle Overbay as a Yankee great. Steve's asking about the coaching staff. That's always tough. Man, these last two games really reminded me a ton of when we were all sort of calling for David Popkins' head. Now, I'll put myself in that conversation. I think I was a little less loud than a lot of other people, but Panda, this is a Twin therapy sesh. Yeah, we're going so deep. We're going so deep here. We're just, I just gritted. I gritted live. It was a disaster. It was embarrassing. I actually did much better than I thought I would. I think this is a kind of a softball grid, to be honest. When you get the, I feel like when you get like the big Hall of Fame 300 plus K, and I clearly wasn't going for the scarcity score either, which some of you guys blow me away with what you can do with that. Yeah, it was a disaster. That's definitely the craziest thing I've done live, and that's that was uncomfortable. I did pretty good though. I did pretty good. Some of the grids, you guys would be embarrassed. You guys would be gone. Yeah, the coaching staff. It's always hard to say from the outside looking in. Pete Mackey. I mean, the pitching staff was awesome. So I don't think he's going anywhere for sure. There are some things in the hitting side. I do think there was just some, if we take a stone cold look at it and be honest about it, I do think there was just some talent deficiency on the offense. To be honest, now that's not a complete free pass. It did seem like for parts of the season, and again, these last two games too, The team did not seem very well prepared. That stings. That's not what you want to feel. That's not, and I don't know who that's on, but that's again, when you're on the outside looking in, on the outside looking in, it's tough to say who's doing what and where the deficiency is and what they need more of on the coaching staff. Um, Jace Tingler, I think he'll be back. The only question is, maybe is he going to get some managerial interest? I know, like when he was in San Diego, it was kind of a shit show, to be frank. That clubhouse broke down. Things did not go well when he was with the Padres, it seemed like. So I think he might have some more rebuilding of his reputation to do before he's considered for another managerial job, but I don't know. And it seems like the retreads are really in vogue right now. Like Texas bringing Boshi back, the Mets. Oh gosh, you're going to get me again. I forgot who's managing the Mets this year. I'm terrible. My memory is just awful. I can see his face. He was on ESPN for a long time, or MLB Network, or whatever. And he's not there anymore. But that seems to be the in vogue thing, is the retread, old school manager. I mean, hell, Dusty's making it look good. Yeah, Buck Showalter. Dusty's making it look good. So, I can see why some other teams are kind of looking at that and saying, oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't think Jace is going to be – there's going to be changes, but I think if he gets managerial consideration, that could be a thing. It seems like that it's been a good fit here. Maybe it was too soon for him to get that job, too much too fast for him in San Diego, and maybe this role suits him a little bit better, and he's been a good support of Rocco. I think Rocco Rocco seemed more comfortable this year. I'll put it that way. Yeah. I'll take you up on that bet. On Miranda. They're not going to make any room for Jose Miranda. They shouldn't make any room for Jose Miranda. A lot of these guys who are young, they're not prospects anymore. Your Mirandas, your Kirilovs, even your Larnacks, the Twins can't make room for these guys. They can't say, oh, we have this guy, so we are not going to go out and get anybody. But those guys can still play their way to a role. And I think I do. I'm a big Jose Miranda guy, man. I believe in this guy a ton. I think he is going to play his way back into the plan somehow. He's still really young. He makes a ton. And hey, if you want to talk about a guy making contact, if you want to talk about a guy that you want to make, if you want the Twins to make contact more next year, which is not necessarily a thing I'm super passionate about. I'm a big power guy, which Jose has some power too. But if you're a person who wants the Twins to make more contact, you should be banging that Jose Miranda drum. That guy barely strikes out. He barely strikes out ever. But again, he could also be a guy who's in the trade conversation. But the thing is with those guys, the trade stock is so far down. There'll be teams that will be interested, but they're kind of reclamation projects at this point, to be honest. Sucks to say. But to be honest, yeah, Michael A. Taylor was awesome, man. He seemed to fit in really well. He played really well. It was awesome to have such a good defensive center fielder there as Buxton Insurance, and he and again he hit for power. I've been talking that up. He's the guy who put a charge into a bunch of balls. Seems just like an awesome dude too. I love Michael A. Taylor. Yeah, I'm actually like super surprised at how much I enjoyed Michael A. Taylor this year, because I usually, I think I'm really gearing toward power more than I ever have, and I've always loved power. But a sub 300 OBP guy like Michael A. Taylor, usually that's really hard to stomach. But he played so well in center field, and he hit big home runs. Yeah, the bi-weekly random 400-foot home run he has power. That dude can hit it a long ways, man. Oh, Aaron, thanks for jogging my memory. Talking about arguing bad strike calls. There's kind of two ways to that. So I will say I'm really glad that none of the Twins players got themselves ejected over the many bad calls. Again, we talked about this a little bit earlier. The Twins didn't lose this series because of the umpiring, in my opinion. It did not help them. It certainly did not help them, but the Twins did not lose this series based on the umpiring. But I'm really glad that none of the Twins got themselves tossed arguing balls and strikes in this playoff run. Because again, the umpiring has been pretty poor, you know, calling it like it is, but it was pretty poor. They did a good job of keeping their heads to them. You know, you could maybe argue. I think you could argue if, you know, maybe a coach, maybe not Rocco, but maybe another coach could have maybe made some noise and made sure the umpires knew that the Twins were not pleased with what was going on. But I think the Twins did a really good job of keeping composed about that. You know, because what you know, it sucks. It sucks, but like, what is the good? If you argue a call, do you think the umpires can be, you know what? Actually, you're right. That was a ball. Get everybody back on the field. get it back out of the dugout. We're going to reset the count and we'll do it over again. No, that's never going to happen. So it's pretty worthless to explode and, you know, get yourself tossed, you know, put your team in a bad spot. So I think the Twins did a really nice job of staying composed in that manner. Is there an argument that maybe Rocco or one of the coaches should have come out and been more demonstrative about it? Maybe. We've seen, I feel like some of these teams have like a designated coach to get thrown out. I think that'd be a good role. Like, you tell one of your coaches, like, hey, Hank Conger, like, if I get pissed off, I'm going to give you a signal. And that signal is go lose your shit and get thrown out of the game. That would be fun. I mean, there's so many coaches on these staffs. You don't need all of them. You can get one of those guys tossed. Yeah. Owen talking about how interesting this offseason might be. I think there's a lot of people that look at the offseason and kind of look at what the Twins have in house. And I think there's kind of an assumption there that, like, oh, the Twins they have a really good foundation. They might not have to do that much this offseason. And maybe that's how it goes. I don't know. But I could see them doing a lot of stuff. I could see them, again, trading guys that we don't expect them to trade. Maybe signing some guys to positions we don't think are positions of need, you know? Yeah. Donaldson. And I mean, I get it, like, from a fan perspective, that's fun as hell when a guy gets tossed. I mean, that what's there are very few baseball happenings that are more fun than when a player and an umpire are going at it. But, you know, when you're in the playoffs and these games are so huge, I thought they did a good job. Going to jump back a little bit in the chat. Yeah, Aaron, I was surprised too that Vasquez didn't play. Obviously, Jeffers caught well this year and he hit well, way better than Vasquez this year. But it did seem like Jeffers wore down, and Vasquez has been such a good October player. I don't know when you go, especially there's not a natural platoon there with them both being right-handed hitters, so you don't have that. I'm not sure, like, if there's a certain pitcher type that, you know, Vasquez matches up against better than Jeffers, but it felt like at some point he should have been out there probably. And, you know, gosh, if there's one guy if you think about it, if there's one guy to kind of be sore about his usage, it's probably Christian Vasquez, you know? I'm sure he's not very happy that he didn't get to play in any of the 6 postseason games. But, you know, the reality of the situation, he can look at the back of the baseball card or whatever. He can look at the numbers, and Ryan Jeffers just, you know, to be frank, outperformed him. So, you know, it's a results-based business. Hopefully there's not any kind of ill will there carried forward. And I would bet that Vasquez provided plenty of value beyond not even with not playing. I think I would bet he was a really big asset in the meetings pregame, game planning, all that stuff. Yeah, Pete Alonso came up again. Yeah, he's like, if the Mets are moving off of him, that's like a dream guy. That's like a dream guy to put in this lineup to me. Maybe that might be like hoping for too much, but I mean, I feel like Carlos Correa was hoping for too much. I actually looked back on, God, I don't even know what it was. I think it was, I think it might have been the Mitch Garver trade video I did to look back on. And I was watching that video, and it was so funny because toward the end, I was like, oh, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, like he's a good defensive shortstop, but there's guys out there. And I think I said, like, I'm not going to like dream that the Twins are going to sign Carlos Correa or anything, but they could get Trevor Story. So it just was like at one point, just a complete, like, fever dream that you would think that Carlos Correa would be on the Twins. And here we are. And I know he obviously was hurt this year. And I know last year he was great, but everybody kind of took shots at him for not having signature moments, which was somewhat fair. I don't really have a response to that. He played really well, but he didn't have a lot of signature moments last year. But it was really rewarding. That's another thing too with this postseason run. Super rewarding to have seen Carlos Correa in his element. I mean, especially the first 4 games of the postseason. Every single one of those games, he had a signature moment in each of those games, at least one, maybe 2. Yeah, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, Twins Hall of Famer. We'll put him in there with oh god, I'm gonna do it again. You guys are gonna laugh. I'm gonna do it. I forgot his name. Jaime Garcia. I got it. Oh, almost left me. Jaime Garcia and Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, the Twins Hall of Fame class of 2024. Mm-hmm. Ooh, I like that. You guys are gonna have a hard time getting me to talk about off-season moves, but if you want to talk about early Sire Fort Myers, I'm gonna get in on that. We might go another hour and 45 minutes on potential Sire Fort Myers candidates for next year. Some of these guys we've talked about a little bit earlier, who probably will get added to the 40-man roster, but have not made their major league debut yet. That is one of the stipulations. Junior Severino is going to be a pretty good bet there. Austin Martin, you can expect him to be playing a ton. Absolutely. It's going to be fun. Yeah, and they'll bring in some guys too, especially now that they're a winning ball club. They're a division championship ball club that advanced in the playoffs. There's going to be those guys like Willie Castro who are free agents looking for jobs. I think the Twins' position in the standings certainly helped them with Dallas Keuchel too. Not that he was like tremendous or some kind of a huge difference maker, but I think it's just a good show that once you have a winning team that kind of has a bunch of marquee guys, and I do think you can say that about Correa and Pablo and Royce. You do become a more marketable destination to some of these free agent guys. Yeah, Garver. I love Mitch Garver so much. I looked back on that video just to remember if I hated that trade as much as I did, and I did. It's a good call. I like both these guys, Teoscar Hernandez and Lourdes Gurriel Jr. I like both those guys. Teoscar kind of he had a weird year, but I think, it was tough for him to go to Seattle. I think that's my interpretation of it from the outside looking in. Really kind of landed in Toronto and then built himself up there. And then I think he was probably surprised to get traded. And that was tough. And Seattle's still not a very easy place to hit. and he turned it on in the second half. There was a stretch there for the second half. Teoscar was a beast, and Lourdes Gurriel Jr. had a pretty solid year too. Now those are kind of maybe more guys who are not that marquee middle of the lineup guy. They're maybe sort of that third bat, second bat, and you somewhere in there, more of a supporting guy. But those are names like if the Twins went out and got those guys, that would be, big time. What? Are you kidding me? You're just showing off now. You're showing off now. You use John Gant in a Twins Immaculate Grid. Man, you should be the one live streaming your Immaculate Grid. What should be. Camargo, man. I'm not sure 100% on his contract status. It's really weird with the minor leagues. He was a minor league free agent this past offseason. So he was kind of free to go. And the Twins managed to sign him, which isn't always the case. A lot of guys seem to, pardon me. A lot of guys seem to want to get out of the organization they were in. You can kind of see that. If you've been in that organization, they didn't give you a shot. You can kind of feel like, wow, these guys don't really believe in me. Let me try something else. And they re-signed him. The max minor league free agent contract is 2 years max. So I don't know if Jair Camargo got a 2-year deal or a 1-year deal. I would probably guess that Camargo is a free agent right now, and the Twins will have to kind of re-sign him back. I don't know if he'll do that again. I'm not sure, but he was amazing. He was awesome, and he established a bunch of the identity of the Saints and a bunch of their clubhouse culture that was super fun. I think the Twins would absolutely love to have him back, but I don't know that they are going to add him to the 40-man roster. It's just tough. When all these guys coming off the injured list have to fit on the 40-man roster, you just have so few spaces. It's so difficult. Walker Jenkins, I'm guessing, is what this is asking about, Brendan. Probably not. But the fact that I said probably not kind of tells you how insane Walker Jenkins is. He's ridiculous. He's so good. Insane. Well, I mean, Willie is the defending sire of Fort Myers. You got to remember who was before that. There's been some good ones. The last one before him was Duran. So we're on a historic stretch of sire of Fort Myers winners right now. Those are a couple good ones. Ooh, Prado. Ooh, I like that bet because I do a top 10 favorites. And what you have to think about a lot is who's the guy that's going to play a lot in spring training? Because it is based on spring training performance only, not prospect status, not who's going to make the roster. It's just the guy that had the best spring training who's eligible. And Anthony Prado, since he can play so many positions, he might play a ton in spring training. That's a good dark horse bet. Oh, nice. Just got back to Mankato. I went to school in Mankato in college. I lived down there for a while. I'm sure that was a long drive after the loss, but we're hanging out here. I don't know how much farther this is going to go. I'm tired, but again, like I said earlier, this is the last night of Twins that we have of Twins baseball. After tonight, I'll be making videos. I'm not going anywhere. I'll be making videos. We'll probably do some live streams over the off season, but it's just not going to be the same. It's just not going to be the same, Yeah, I'm out here, man. I'm out here again. The season, we're pushing the 2-hour mark. The season's done. This is it. This is all we got. Ooh, that's a good call, Steve. Saints meetup game. They put on a good show over there at CHS. It's a beautiful, nice, tight little ballpark. And man, that team just is so much fun. The people who work for them are just put on a blast. So much fun. That's a good idea, Steve. Thanks for throwing that out there. I'm gonna have to kick that one around. Yeah, Manuel Rodriguez. This is going to be a huge year for a lot of those guys. That's another thing about this year too, man. It's in the back of my mind more because it's we're so far past that. But the Cedar Rapids Colonels, first half champions, second half champions, champions of the Midwest League, finalist for Minor League Team of the Year from Baseball America. There's only 3 teams who are finalists for Minor League Team of the Year. Keep in mind, all these teams, 30 MLB teams, they all have 4 full season affiliates. You do the math. I can't do math. What is that? 120 teams? I can't do math right now. We'll just say that. I think that's right. Only 3 teams made it as finalists for that award, and Cedar Rapids didn't win that award, but they were up for that award. There's going to be a lot of guys from that team going up to Double-A. In my opinion, that is the biggest jump. I used to say that's the biggest jump until you go from AAA to MLB. I am actually starting to think that's the biggest jump of a player's entire career is when you go from high A to Double-A. This is going to be such a huge season for so many of these guys that were in Cedar Rapids next year, and it's going to be awesome to see. And I'm excited to see what Emmanuel Rodriguez can do. I just pray that Double-A has the automated strike zone. Because if Emmanuel Rodriguez has to deal with human minor league umpires, one more season, I think his head's going to explode. He has such a better command of the strike zone than minor league umpires does. It's honestly painful to watch him play sometimes. Yeah, we got some Ryan Lamar love, the original sire of Fort Myers. Oh, by the way, the OG sire of Fort Myers, Ryan Lamar. Cannot forget him, of course. Wow, man, that's another thing too, though. Greg, that's a great call out because I talk about, they need a star. They need a middle of the lineup bat. Man, if Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman can go 1 for 21, is there a formula? Really? Are we just joking ourselves? I mean, when 2 of the best baseball players on the planet can combine to go 1 for 21. I mean, if we start to try to pretend there's some magic formula, I mean that's probably the best kind of argument to be like, no. Yes, I did go to MSU. I did not graduate from there, though. That's all. I've already embarrassed myself enough from playing Immaculate Grid with you guys. We don't need to get into my college career. Oh, nice. Oh, all right. I don't think they've gotten in the postseason in the KBO yet, but man, if you go to some games, please. I know you haven't been as active on Twitter. I get that. So you've been working for a team, but man, if you get out to some of them games, I would love it if you could share as much as you could. I love the KBO. I'm obsessed with the fan culture there. The LG Twins had a tremendous year, which that was the team I followed during 2020 when they were playing. I'm pretty sure they're finishing in first place this year. The Twins run here has kind of hurt my awareness on what's going on in the KBO, but they were having a tremendous year last I saw. But that's just a fun brand of baseball they play. I love the KBO. Super high scoring games usually, just madness. And I think that the thing that really helped me open my eyes, and this is true for the minor leagues, if you watch any kind of lower level baseball than Major League Baseball, I think the biggest thing that stands out is defense, actually. If and I see a lot of people rip on Major League defenses and say that the guys aren't as fundamental as they used to be. Man, watch some college baseball, watch some minor league baseball, watch some KBO. Watch any level of baseball and see how much more balls that these guys get to. And I think that's sort of part of what's led me into like, man, I get why everybody's trying to hit home runs. It's so damn hard to get a ball in play that falls in for a hit these days. These guys can cover so much ground. They're so big, so strong, so fast. They throw so hard. You know, I mean, damn, look at Jeremy Pena, caught everything. He caught everything. It was ridiculous. Bregman. These guys can get to everything. It's amazing. But it actually, sometimes if you go down a little bit, it's kind of the point I was trying to get at. If you go down a little bit, yes, the players aren't as good, but holy crap, the KBO is entertaining as hell. If you just want entertainment value out of a baseball game, man, check that out. Super entertaining. I'm so far behind on the chat. So far. Okay. That's a good call out, man. That's a superstar that the Royals have. I don't know. Sometimes you have that and you can't build around that. It's tough. I think, the Twins really showed that it's a 26-man roster, and you've got to build that 26-man roster. One guy can only do so much, but geez, starting with Witt, that's a good start. That's a good player. It's funny because I was thinking about maybe not a countdown, but I was thinking about comparing this year's Colonels team to 2019's Wichita Wind Surge team. I might pull something up here. Can I play my own videos on here without it like crashing? I'm not sure. Hold on. Oh, that's not what I want. What is this? Typing is a challenge right now. I'm just impressed I haven't had to make a bathroom break in 2 hours. That's all I'm saying. What am I looking for? I'm sorry. We're on a tangent again. No. God, you guys would be so embarrassed at how bad I am at YouTube. Oh, a bunch of my stuff shows up for Wichita. That's good. That's good. That's not what I want. All right. I may need to pull this out while you guys talk amongst yourselves. But there was a point, I think it was in 2019. I did a video that just showed the Wichita Wind Surge pregame team intros in the postseason, because I knew that roster was so ridiculously stacked. We would have tons of future Twins. Ah, man. Having a hard time tracking it down, though. Yeah, that was fun. And a lot of those guys, haven't turned out to where I thought they would be. Yeah, I can't track it down easily right now. But tons of dudes from that roster were, Royce Lewis was on that team. I think Kirilloff was on that team. Tons of guys. Yeah, Emmanuel Rodriguez. Yeah, he could be that kind of guy. More defense. I get that people are a little bit, like I should say Jeremy Nygaard in particular is a little bit cold on Emmanuel Rodriguez, and I kind of get that to a degree. He strikes out a lot. There's some risk there for sure. Again, and that's why I say like that step up to Double A. That's going to be a huge indication of who Emmanuel Rodriguez is going to be, I think. Oh, nice. Charlie Barnes is pitching well. All right. Former Twin Charlie Barnes pitching well in the KBO. That's something too. There's lots of like a fun old names in the KBO too that you might recognize. Um, yeah, they play good ball. It's just fun too, super fun. Man, how many of you guys were born in Seoul? Jeez, that's awesome. Oh, what? Christian moved here to Minnesota. Oh man, it could snow tomorrow. Um, it could be a while. This has been a weird. We had a weird couple years. You know, don't ask if you don't. Man, we're gonna go 2 more hours. You ask a Minnesotan about the weather. You gonna ask a Minnesotan about the weather right now? Whew, you better buckle up. You better buckle up. It's I this is a cool time. This is a really cool time to be here. Fall is amazing. I think fall is the best season. It's really special. Go do the fall stuff, man. Get them kids out there. I already went to a pumpkin patch. I already did an apple orchard. I already did a corn maze. Like, put that on the to-do list immediately. Like, you got to do that. Fall is special. Snow, it's gonna come. um, your kids are gonna probably love it. Snow is super fun. There's so much fun stuff to do in the snow. It gets brutal. It gets brutal. I'm not gonna lie. I'm sure you've been told this before. You will not see the sun for hardly for a long time, but embrace it, and you might find fun. Embrace it. Try to have fun with your kids, and you might find it to be pretty fun. But again, it's tough. It's long and it's tough. But try to soak in fall, man. Try to soak in fall. It's amazing. Fall's so special. Not everybody gets fall. I'm not super familiar with Texas, but I'd imagine your weather is a lot different. So yeah, I would try to not ask about when the snow's gonna come. To be honest, not to get too real, on you there. We got some more questions. I'm just not prepped for the off-season questions yet, guys. I don't remember who's all on what, and who's gonna be free agents, and who's 40 man, or who's Rule 5 eligible. I haven't gotten up on that. When do you see Jenkins as the Twins? Probably not next year, but the year after that. I mean, he's special. Walker Jenkins is something different. I very confidently put him at number one in the system, and he's only done more to establish that. I think he's the best prospect the Twins have had since Royce Lewis. And I think it's early, but man, he might push beyond that. He might be like in conversations for the number one overall prospect before too long. He's ridiculous. And I know that draft class is looking really good, so it's kind of hard to say that he's going to jump above some of those guys that got drafted over him, but he is looking insane. What do I think of Joey Gallo? I think he's going to be gone. That is one guy who I can say he is a free agent. I think he's going to be gone. That was kind of one of the things I didn't get about the signing of him. I thought, if you're going to sign this guy, who's kind of coming off a down year, it's kind of a reclamation project. Like, aren't you going to try to get an option, to where if he comes back and has a great year, you have an option you can pick up? It's just a weird signing to me. And I think Joey Gallo seems like a good dude. He seems like a lot of fun, but, it's just a weird fit. It's just a weird fit on this roster, I think. Yeah, man, I think we've kind of we've kind of circled back into that. We've had some fun. We've blown off some steam. I embarrassed myself, and then now the kind of the sadness is seeping back in. Yeah, but at least we're sad together. Yeah, it's coming. It's coming. It's gonna be a long winter with no baseball. It's coming. Yeah. that did take a mighty Midwestern turn there, didn't it? Corn mazes and apple orchards and pumpkin patches. Yeah, it's really tough though. I think Christian, it's really tough. I was born here. I've been here my whole life. It's really tough to try to put myself in someone else's shoes. But I think that's the best advice I can have is try to embrace it. Try to find the fun in it. Try to find the uniqueness of it and appreciate that. Um, that would be my best. You can't change it. If you're gonna be here, you got to deal with it. So find a way. I mean, I'll probably root for the Diamondbacks just because. I don't know. I don't know. Nobody really grabs my attention. I do like the Phillies though. They're just fun. That's just a fun team. Bryce Harper is amazing. I saw somebody talking about today how like he was elevated to just this crazy status when he was a teenager, and he's been every bit as good as expected, and that's so cool. And it'd be cool to see him win another World Series. Um, yeah, so I would like that. And their fans are insane. The Phillies fans, I love that. They deserve it. People talking about the Wolves. I don't follow any other sports anymore real closely, but I can tell you that if you want to get into the Wolves, I don't even follow the Wolves, and I know that there's a really good, really fun Wolves culture on Twitter. There's some good, fun accounts that people are just like have a blast with and just make super fun content. Jake's Graphs. I don't know. Again, I'm not in that. I'm not in that community, so there's probably even more than I don't know of. But I've just from being someone who creates content, I've caught wind of some of these people and just followed them on Twitter because they're just so good at making content. Yeah, Brendan says Wolves Twitter is the pinnacle. There's just such a good vibe there because I think the Wolves have been terrible. The Wolves have been terrible, but they're kind of they're good enough to where it's not depressing, basically. And there's just such a good vibe from what I see. Again, I'm not in that community, so I can't really speak to it. But yeah, Jake's Graph, and I think there's there's one that's Crunch Wears No Pants. Is another one. You guys can share some other ones if you found some other ones. But just like good vibes, fun content that just sort of is like um, feel good focused. Uh, and again, I don't know those. I don't know. I'm not super familiar with those. So if there's like, you never know. I'll put it that way. There's also some. I'll just throw it this way. There's some Vikings content creators who have had backstories I was unaware of that I had commented about in the past. I will not expand further than that. But we've gone through a few, but right now I'm on the Brass Foundry Amber Ale, and then this is it. This is it. I got to call it quits at a certain point. Yeah, Twin subreddit. I've been hanging out there a little bit more too. I think that's a really good place to be. I know a lot of people have talked about how their game threads can get kind of toxic and not very fun to hang out in. I've never hung out in those, so I only see all the other stuff. And I enjoy the Twin subreddit too. Joe, we did it. We did it, you guys. When this chat started, I was super bummed, but all this talk has made me excited for next year. The Twins in general. We did it. Took us 2 hours and 15 minutes, but we've done it. Yes. Oh man. Yeah, it's hard. It's a hard day. It's a hard day. But how many teams are left at this point? 5? Right? Is that it? There's 5. I think, yeah, that's right, right? There's 5 teams left. So the Twins were the 6th to the last team defeated. So out of 30 teams, I mean, you know, we wish the ride would have lasted longer, but man, we are in a position where the vast majority of other fan bases would trade spots with us in a heartbeat. So, you know, and I know there's always a part of Minnesota sports fandom or Twins fandom that's like, oh, you got to demand more of the team, and if you're just satisfied with them doing this, then they're never going to try more. But I don't know. I don't know. I'm pretty satisfied. I think it was a fun season too, Owen. I had a good time. It was a good ride. I think I'm winding down too. I think I finally got to have a bathroom break. I'm just not going to do that live. I'm not going to leave you. I'm not going to leave this without me here. I don't know. That seems weird. I know like Twitch streamers have to do that, right? When they do like all day streams, but yeah, hold them accountable. Yeah, that is what they say. So it's been real. It's what a fun season. I'll have plenty of stuff coming. I'll have plenty of wrap up stuff coming. We're not going to leave it at this. I do have some stuff I'm excited about. I do have some projects I'm really excited about that are going to take me off the channel, but they're Twins related. Some of you channel members know what's up. I've talked about that a few weeks ago, a little bit, just a little bit. Still formulating those ideas. Those ideas couldn't really evolve until we got out of the regular season grind. But I think, you know, it's gonna be very interesting. I think a lot of people aren't going to care at all about it, but I think a lot of people are going to be super hyped about it. I'm excited about it. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. You know, it's going to be fun. You know, that's kind of the nice thing for me. It's a grind. It's a grind to do this. It's a grind to do the system recaps every day. I love it. I know that people find them valuable. That means a lot to me. But it's an everyday thing, man. When I'm in it, it's an everyday thing. So you know, it doesn't outweigh the sadness of the season being over. I wish we had way more games to talk about, but you know, this does open up a lot of things. You know, now I also have just a lot of projects around my house that I actually need to fix. They're like half fixed, and I need to actually fix them. So that's another thing too. But it was a great year. I appreciate you guys. I mean, we've been here for 2 hours and 17 minutes, and there's still people hanging out here. I don't take that for granted at all. Having an audience is such a privilege. There's so many people grinding and making content who don't have an audience, but I got to go to the bathroom. That's going to be my parting thoughts on 2023 season. I got to go to the bathroom. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. We'll talk again soon.